Emily had worked plenty of night shifts before, but this one felt different. The East Wing of St. Mary's Hospital had been closed for years, only reopened recently because the city's flu outbreak had filled every other ward. When her supervisor told her she'd be covering the wing alone, just her, 10 patients, and a skeleton crew on the far side of the hospital, Emily hesitated. The East Wing had a reputation. Nurses whispered about hearing voices, footsteps in empty corridors, even equipment that turned itself on. But she laughed it off. She needed the overtime pay. The shift began quietly. Most of the patients were asleep by midnight. Emily sat at the nurse's station, sipping stale coffee, listening to the steady beep of monitors. At 1:12 a.m., the call light blinked from room 604. She checked a chart. Mr. Henderson, a frail man recovering from pneumonia. She hurried in. "Mr. Henderson, you called?" The old man's eyes were wide, his face pale with terror. "There's someone in here." She turned, scanning the room. Empty. Just the bed, the monitor, the IV drip. "No one's here," she said gently. He shook his head furiously. "He was standing at the foot of the bed, tall, all in black, watching me." She reassured him, adjusted his blanket, and chalked it up to medication side effects. But as she left, a chill passed down her spine. She glanced back. The shadows at the far end of the room seemed darker, thicker, like they clung to the corners. By 2:30, things escalated. Another call light, room 609. A woman recovering from surgery. When she entered, the woman whispered, "He's in the hallway." "Who?" The patient's eyes darted toward the open door. Emily stepped out into the hall. Empty. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, buzzing faintly. Then, soft footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Coming from the far end of the wing. "Hello?" she called, forcing her voice steady. The footsteps stopped. She walked down the corridor, each step echoing too loudly. Halfway down, she noticed something strange. Every patient door she passed had swung open, just a crack, enough to see darkness inside. She hadn't left them that way. Her radio crackled suddenly, making her jump. Static, then a voice, low and distorted. "Emily!" She froze. Her supervisor's voice was supposed to come through the radio, but this voice was deeper, wrong. She yanked the radio off her belt. "Who is this?" Silence. Her pulse hammered in her ears. She backed toward the nurse's station, trying to convince herself it was interference. Hospitals were full of old wiring. At 3:06, the power flickered. Monitors beeped wildly, lights buzzed, dimmed, then flared back on. Every patient was awake now, their call lights blinking frantically. She ran room to room, calming them, but each one whispered the same thing. "He's here." Finally, in room 1111, she saw him. At first she thought it was her reflection in the window, just a shape. But it didn't move when she did. It stood just outside the glass, tall, featureless, its head cocked slightly. Her breath caught. She blinked, and it was gone. By 4 o'clock, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being hunted. Every corner seemed to hide something. Every hallway stretched longer than it should. She returned to Mr. Henderson's room to check his vitals. His monitor flatlined the moment she stepped in. Heart pounding, she rushed to his side, only to find him staring past her, eyes wide, lips trembling. "He's right behind you!" Emily whipped around. The door was closed. A shadow stretched across it, taller than the frame itself. She stumbled back, slamming the code button, shouting for help. The hallway lights flickered again, plunging everything into near darkness. Through the glass window in the door, she saw staff running toward her, their flashlights cutting through the black. They burst in, found her trembling on the floor, the patients screaming, monitors blaring. But the shadow was gone. Later, when they pulled the security footage, the entire East Wing looked calm, silent, empty. No alarms, no flashing lights, just Emily, alone, talking to shadows that weren't there. She never worked another night shift again. And the East Wing? It was closed off permanently a week later. But every now and then, late at night, patients in the newer wards whisper about footsteps in the halls. Slow, deliberate, coming closer.